Hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. George Simon, and welcome to another edition of the new Character Matters program. This is where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face, and that has been with us for some time now. We've become all too used to it. It's become normal to encounter character disturbance of one type or another. Individuals who have not really grown up emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, have not incorporated into themselves the values and the controls, especially the controls, necessary to function in a healthy way. This problem has been with us for a long time and has affected every aspect of our lives. And I've spoken about how the vicious cycle of this problem developed insidiously, slowly, over time, with various norms, traditions, institutions, gradually eroding and becoming more corrupted over time, and that having an impact on individuals' character development. And as more and more character impaired individuals entered society and changed the landscape, if you will, affected the milieu, various norms, institutions, traditions, further eroded. A classic vicious cycle that got us to where we are today. We've always had problems. I mentioned that in one of my prior podcasts. Mental health issues are not new. Feeling so angry at the world because of perceived injustice, not new. All kinds of stresses that we have faced throughout human history, not new. What's new is that so many folks are able to function in a world without the internalized resources to be of solid character, so that when things go wrong or stressors mount, they don't have the internal resources to control themselves. They don't have the internal resources to properly nurture an intimate relationship or make it last. This is new, and it's the product of a syndrome that's been going on for several decades now, and that has to reverse itself. It simply has to, especially if we're going to make it. And that's why I've devoted my professional career to writing and talking about these matters through my books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, an international bestseller. The first to describe the phenomenon we currently call the gaslighting effect. That feeling of being crazy because you know there's something not right, because you believe sincerely in your heart that there's something not quite right about the person that you're involved with, and there's something not quite right about the way they interact with you, and that they're up to no good in some way. And yet they have you feeling like you're off base, severely off base, for thinking so. In my book, Character Disturbance, the first to outline the broad spectrum of character impairments out there and all of the disturbed characters you're likely to meet and become involved with, whether you intend to or not. How to recognize the signs, how to deal with the problems that are most likely to ensue, and especially what to do when you're trying to seek help. Because getting the right kind of help in our day and time is still very challenging. In my book, The Judas Syndrome, the first to explore how genuine faith can truly salvage a person on many levels. How did we end up here? My first book co-authored with Dr. Kathy Armistead, The Toxic Relationship Survivor's Guide, How to Survive and Even Thrive in This Character-Disordered World of Ours, How to Know When to Abandon Hope versus to retain some hope in a troubled relationship. And then finally, the book that I've labored over so long, again with my co-author, Dr. Kathy Armistead, Essentials for the Journey, Embracing and Living the 10 Commandments of Character, the proven principles, the time-honored principles, so essential for proper character formation, so essential for our emotional growth, for our psychological health, and for our spiritual well-being. That brings me to what I want to talk about today. I want to emphasize something I've written about many times in not only all my books, but in many articles on my blog at drgeorgesimon.com. You see the URL at the top of the screen here, I hope. And that is that socialization, the process by which we human beings, with all of our primal instincts, develop the resources to function well in a civilized world. Civilization is a relatively new phenomenon. We have evolved over a great period of time, and in times in our ancient history, there were no such things as cooperation, team building, societal building. There was a time when we weren't even very tribal. We've been evolving for many years, but a culture steeped in pervasive and deep entitlement, relativism, and permissiveness has taken us backward in our social evolution especially. We have forgotten how arduous a process the socialization process is. To properly prepare a human being to function well in relationships and in the world at large, with character, with the internal ethical code and the resources to properly manage themselves and to interact with others in productive, creative, truly loving ways, requires incredible effort, hour after hour, year after year, for many, many years. Most creatures on the planet do not require as long to learn how to function. It takes us countless hours to develop ourselves to the point that we are properly socialized, that we are capable of genuine loving. So many folks today still don't even know what real love is. They equate it with so many other things. I've written about that many, many times before, and I urge you to read the many articles on that. I have another one coming out today about the folks who are very expert at seducing you by affirming you, by charming you. And they may very well see something in you that they value. They may even value your heart because they know how attractive it is. But that alone doesn't mean that they have the character capacity to truly love you. And we have lost the art of discernment there. We don't even know how to tell until it's way too late whether somebody can even care, let alone really does care properly about us. This character crisis is real, it's deep, it's pervasive, And it's become so normalized that we have forgotten how abnormal we have become as a society. The principles I outline in Essentials for the Journey can help anyone at any stage in their emotional, psychological, and spiritual development be better and do better. It's a direct appeal to the heart. This is how the world will change. The world will change. Our lives will change. Our relationships will change. Exactly how they got messed up, one heart at a time. This descent into this character crisis occurred insidiously, slowly, incrementally, so that what was happening to us wasn't noticed. And now it's become so normalized that nothing seems to shock us anymore. And the only way to turn things around is the same way we got ourselves into this mess. One heart at a time, starting with our own. You be that one more noble character in the world. You be that one more person who knows how to love, including yourself. Because if you can't love yourself properly, there's no way in tarnation that you can truly know how to love someone else. You have to know what it is, what it entails. And that's a long, painstaking process of learning all of the principles and values that I espouse in my latest book and in my numerous online articles. So if anything, remember this. Socialization is a process. It takes a lot of time and effort to civilize a human being, to properly develop within a human being the kind of character that will save us all and that will make for healthy, wholesome relationships, that will bring us back together instead of continuing to divide us apart. We have to come face to face with our vanities, a predictable product of a long-standing age of rampant, deep entitlement, relativism, and permissiveness. We have to get real about ourselves and about each other, painstakingly honest with ourselves, about ourselves, and about each other, and without prejudice and pre-conviction. We have to do better at learning to love. And the essentials for that are in my latest book and in the numerous articles I've written. I've worked for many years with two groups of people, many years. Those individuals with significantly impaired characters who helped make the world a mess, who did very bad things, hurt people. I've also worked with all those folks that have been on the receiving end of that. These folks have taught me quite a bit. Life has taught me quite a bit. It also taught me how misguided some of our notions have been. And I'll be talking about that next time, because some of the notions coming out of classical schools of psychology and social work and other mental health sciences have actually put people at a disadvantage, have had them seeing things in a way that were actually not very helpful to them empowering themselves and leading a wholesome life, resting themselves from toxic relationships. So I'll be having more to say about that in an upcoming edition of Character Matters. So I hope you'll stay with me and keep tuning in. And I'll have an announcement soon to be posting on my professional Facebook page to announce the upcoming live YouTube podcast where I'll be able to talk to you in real time. That'll be sometime in August. I'll have more information as we go along. I also invite you to visit my blog at drgeorgesimon.com and avail yourself of the hundreds of articles there, and of course to avail yourself of my books. Until next time, I'm Dr. George Simon. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.